To call to order the Wetlands Board meeting for Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. The responsibility of this board is to carry out locally the Commonwealth policy to preserve the wetlands and to accommodate economic activity so as not to prevent their despoliation. Can we get a roll call, Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Rodley?
Here.
Mr. Waltrip?
Here.
Mr. Woolsey? Here. Mr. May?
Here.
Ms. Bowie?
Thank you, sir. Next on the agenda, the minutes from the August 13th regular board meeting. Any additions, changes, comments on the minutes? Do you have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the August 13, 2025 as presented.
All right, we have a motion to approve. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next on the agenda, public comment period. The public comment period offers a chance for community members to express their opinions. Topics discussed shall not be directly related to specific public hearing items. To participate, speakers must provide their name and address for the record, please. Is there anyone wishing to address the board on the public comment period? All right, seeing none, hearing none, I will close the public comment period and go to the public hearings. The outline for tonight's public hearings will be a staff presentation followed by any questions or clarifications from the board. Then the public hearing will be opened. At that time, anybody wishing to speak may do so once called upon by the chair. All public speakers must state their name and address for the record. Presentations before the board are subject to time limits. After everyone wishing to speak has done so and discussion among the board members has concluded, the public hearing will be closed. First item on the agenda is WJPA-22-0017 at 94 Shellbank Drive. Ms. Grosjean?
Chair, members of the board, Emily Grosjean, Watershed Planner, presenting WJPA 22-0017. Mr. Daniel Winnell of Water's Edge Construction has applied for a wetlands permit on behalf of Miss Megan Mayfield of Greater First Colony Area Civic Association for the maintenance and dredging and the installation of 2 finger piers on property located at 94 Shellbank Drive within the James River watershed. You can see the subject parcel outlined in blue here, along with that watershed boundary. Moving closer in, the installation of those 2 finger piers, along with existing topography and floodplain, along with the RPA. This application is considered after the fact due to the completion of maintenance dredging and the construction of the 2 finger piers being completed without approval or permits. Additionally, the application is considered commercial and must be heard by the board. This is the site plan showing the installation of those 2 finger piers. We have the existing pier that they come off of here, along with the existing boat ramp and existing bulkhead. And then this is just a cross section of those finger piers, showing where they line up grade-wise with the existing pier. And then recent site photos, again, that existing boat ramp, bulkhead, and the start of that existing pier. And then just kind of turning to our left, that first finger pier, and then the second behind this boat, which you'll see here shortly. Where the first one ties in is located right here, and then that second one back there. This is the second one, just kind of turning more towards the way the original photo was taken. And then just, again, another shot showing that second finger pier towards the back and the first one in the front. On February 1st, 2025, the Wetlands Mitigation Compensation Policy of the Code of Virginia was amended. Virginia, as a Chesapeake Bay program partner, is committed to achieve a no net loss of existing wetlands, acreage, and function in the signatories' regulatory programs. In order for a proposed project to be authorized to impact wetlands and compensate for the wetland loss in some prescribed manner, the following 3 criteria must be met. All reasonable mitigative efforts, including alternative siting, which would eliminate or minimize wetland loss or disturbance, must be incorporated in the proposal. The proposal must clearly be water dependent in nature, and the proposal must demonstrate clearly its need to be in the wetlands and its overwhelming public and private benefits. If the proposed project cannot meet one or more of the above criteria, the project must be denied or must occur in areas outside of wetlands. Should it satisfy all 3 criteria, however, compensation for the wetland loss is required. The sequence of acceptable mitigation options should be as follows: mitigation bank, approved in lieu fee program, permittee responsible on-site and in-kind mitigation, or permittee responsible mitigation through offsite or out-of-kind mitigation within the same watershed. If compensation is required, it should be a condition of the permit. Staff has reviewed this application and finds that this project meets the 3 criteria outlined above. As there are no vegetated tidal wetland impacts, no mitigation is proposed. Staff has reviewed the above application and recommends approval of the application as presented. Should the board wish to approve the application, staff suggests the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. All development activities located in the specified flood hazard area shall comply with Article 6, Division 3 floodplain area regulations of the James City County zoning ordinances and receive all required approval and permits prior to commencement of such activities. The applicant must obtain an approved site plan. The wetlands permit for this project shall expire on October 8th, 2028. If construction has not already begun, and if an extension of the permit is needed, a written request must be submitted to the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division no later than August 27th, 2028, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right. Thank you, Ms. Grosjean. I'd like to open up the public hearing for this matter. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Close the public hearing period, and the matter is before the board. Question from the board?
Chairman, not something I think we would have not approved had it come to us in advance, fairly minor encroachment.
I agree. I certainly agree with the staff's recommendation on this one. Any other discussion or comments, or do we have a motion?
Motion to adopt the resolution to grant the permit request for Wetlands Board Case WJPA 220017 at 94 Shellbank Drive.
Wilson, we have a motion to grant the exception.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Roadley?
Yes?
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, WJPA-25-0024 at 4103 South Riverside Drive. Ms. Grosjean, again, you can get some exercise this evening.
Mr. Chair, board members, Emily Grosjean, Watershed Planner, presenting WJPA 25-0024. Delta Marine Construction, LLC, has applied for a wetlands permit on behalf of Mr. Charlie Cole of the Chickahominy Haven Citizens Association for the demolition of existing structures and construction of 2 walkways, a pier, 2 jetties, and a boat ramp on property located at 4103 South Riverside Drive within the Yarmouth Creek watershed. You can see that watershed outlined in yellow here, along with the subject parcel in blue. And then just some aerial photography moving further in. As you can see, there are existing structures already. What is being proposed is within that same footprint, just with the jetties being extended slightly. And then the existing topography and the floodplain. This is the existing plan of the existing structures. Concrete boat ramp, Jetty 1 and Jetty 2, they kind of go hand in hand with those walkways, along with the existing pier. And then the cross-section, the pier cross-section here, we have mean high water here, mean low, along with the proposed jetty cross-section here. Existing site conditions on the site include, as I stated, 2 walkways, a pier, 2 wooden jetties, and a concrete boat ramp. The applicant is proposing to replace these structures and maintain the same footprint with 2 new walkways, a pier, 2 jetties, and again, a concrete boat ramp. This case is being brought before the board for approval because it is considered a commercial project. On February 1st, 2025, the Wetlands Mitigation Compensation Policy of the Code of Virginia Chapter was amended. Virginia, as a Chesapeake Bay program partner, is committed to achieving no net loss of existing wetlands, acreage, and function in the signatory's regulatory programs. In order for a proposed project to be authorized to impact wetlands and compensate for the wetland loss in some prescribed manner, the following 3 criteria in front of you must be met. If the proposed project cannot meet one or more of the above criteria, the project must be denied or must occur in areas outside of wetlands. Should it satisfy all three criteria, however, compensation for the wetland loss is required. The sequence of acceptable mitigation options should be as follows: mitigation bank, improved in lieu fee program, permittee responsible on-site and in-kind mitigation, or permittee responsible mitigation through off-site or out-of-kind mitigation within the same watershed. If compensation is required, it should be a condition of the permit. Staff has reviewed this application and finds that this project meets the three criteria outlined above. As there are no vegetated tidal wetland impacts, no mitigation is proposed. Staff has reviewed the above application and recommends approval of the application as presented. Should the board wish to approve the application, staff suggests the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. All development activities located in the specified flood hazard area shall comply with Article 6, Division 3 floodplain area regulations of the James City County zoning ordinances and receive all required approval and permits prior to commencement of such activities. The wetlands permit for this project shall expire on October 8th, 2028. If construction has not already begun, if an extension of the permit is needed, a written request must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2028, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Any questions for Ms. Gurjean? All right, thank you, Ms. Gurjean. I'd like to open up the public comment period for this. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak? Please give your name and address for the record.
I'm Brian Fletcher from Delta Marine Construction. I'm from 51 Blandfield Road, Deltaville, Virginia. And I don't have any comments. I'll be glad to answer anything you have. It's pretty cut and dry. Going back in the same footprint, that boat ramp services a lot of people in y'all's county, so whatever you'd like to ask me, I'm here to answer.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for being available. Any questions for Mr. Fletcher?
Is the jetty are they getting shoaling at the end of the boat ramp? That's why they've asked for the jetty extension?
I think it's not shoaling as much as it is the tides undercutting, so the jetties keep it from undercutting the ramp itself.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Fletcher? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? All right, seeing none, hearing none, I will close the public comment period. The matters before the board.
Another fairly straightforward project.
I agree with staff's recommendation for approval, with this largely being within the same footprint. Impacts are so minimal.
I too would support this application. And do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the permit request for Wetlands Board case number WJPA 250024 at 4103 South Riverside Drive.
Wilson, we have a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda, WJPA-25-0005 at 194 The Maine. Ms. Grosjean.
Chair, Emily Grosjean, Watershed Planner, presenting WJPA 25-0005. Mr. Mike Heinrich of Permit Division LLC has applied for a wetlands permit on behalf of Ms. Dorothy Gronlin for the maintenance of a bulkhead and revetment on property located at 194 The Maine and 192 The Maine within the James River watershed. Existing conditions include a wooden bulkhead and incomplete stone revetment approved under VMRC Permit 1991-1571 and a 55 linear foot pier approved under VMRC Permit number 1993-1237. There are also existing wooden groins that are to be detached from the existing wooden bulkhead. The revetment constructed in 1991 was never completed and is to be replaced in one portion. Where it was completed and failing via erosion in another portion, it will be reinforced with geotextile fabric and additional riprap. The total length of the bulkhead and revetment maintenance is 100 feet. So we have the subject parcel, one of them in blue, along with that watershed boundary, and then moving closer in, the revetment runs along these two properties here. As you can see, those three existing wooden groins are there, along with the topography and the current floodplain. And then the existing site conditions, the existing revetment on this side is to remain, while this is to be reinforced where it is failing. And then again, these existing groins are going to remain in place but be detached from the existing bulkhead here. And then just a cross-section of that revetment work here. We have mean high water, mean low, and the existing bulkhead, which is going to remain in place while they install that geotextile fabric in stone. And then just some existing photos of the site, kind of showing where the current riprap revetment is in terms of quality or state. And then if you look to this side, looking back down the other way, again, that existing kind of wooden bulkhead where these groins are attached and coming out. And then just kind of going further back on that pier to get a clearer shot of this whole side here that's going to be reinforced along with the 3 wooden groins. And then just looking back to the left, further down on that revetment to kind of see the top of it and the riprap that exists, along with that first wooden groin and the existing approved pier. And then just going back to the left side of that pier to kind of look down where that existing revetment that's to remain in place is located. On February 1st, 2025, the Wetlands Mitigation Compensation Policy of the Code of Virginia was amended. Virginia, as a Chesapeake Bay program partner, is committed to achieving no net loss of existing wetlands acreage and function in the signatories' regulatory programs. In order for a proposed project to be authorized to impact wetlands and compensate for the wetland loss in some prescribed manner, the following 3 criteria outlined in front of you must be met. If the proposed project cannot meet one or more of the above criteria, the project must be denied or must occur in areas outside of wetlands. Should it satisfy all 3 criteria, however, compensation for the wetland loss is required. The sequence of acceptable mitigation options should be as follows: mitigation bank, approved in lieu fee program, permitted responsible on-site and in-kind mitigation, or permitted responsible mitigation through off-site or out-of-kind mitigation within the same watershed. If compensation is required, it should be a condition of the permit. Staff has reviewed this application and finds that this project meets the 3 criteria outlined above. As there are no vegetated tidal wetland impacts, no mitigation is required. Staff has reviewed the above application and recommends approval of the application as presented. Should the board wish to approve the application, staff suggests the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project, including submittal of an erosion and sediment control plan, a land disturbance permit, and a Chesapeake Bay preservation waiver for disturbance within the resource protection area. All development activities located in the specified flood hazard area shall comply with Article 6, Division 3 floodplain area regulations of the James City County zoning ordinances and receive all required approval and permits prior to commencement of such activities. The wetlands permit for this project shall expire on October 8th, 2028. If construction has not already begun. If an extension of the permit is needed, a written request must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2028, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Questions for Ms. Brogine?
Did I hear you correctly that there's no vegetated tidal wetlands impacted?
That's correct.
So are they going to rework the stone that's there currently and then top dress it, or?
I'm going to defer that to the applicant.
Okay.
Additional questions? Thank you, Ms. Grogine. I'd like to now open up the public comment period for this application. Anyone from the public wishing to address the board? All right, now please state your name and address for the record.
Mike Henrich, 220 Kentucky Road, West Point, Virginia. Thanks for having me. I'm here to entertain any questions. For the member there, we're going to rework the stuff that has fallen all the way down into the water. We'll pull that up, but we will try not to disturb anything because it is settled, and we'll bring in the new rock as necessary, as we talked with Brad with VMRC today, and then top dress what we have to.
Thank you.
Any question? The applicant's representative? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, board.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public comment period and the matters before the board.
Enough easy tonight, another fairly straightforward project. No other comments. I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the permit request for Wetlands Board Case WJPA 250005 at 194 the Maine.
Wilson, we have a motion to adopt the resolution.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, next item on the agenda, WJPA-25-0025, at 2992A Kitchum's Close. Ms. Frazier.
Evening, Chairman, members of the board. Amanda Frazier, Watershed Planner, presenting WJPA 25-0025. Mr. Neville Reynolds of VHB has applied for a wetlands permit on behalf of Miss Ann Ingram of Governor's Land Foundation for the installation of a living shoreline on the property located at 2992A Kitchum's Close within the James River watershed. Aerial image of the parcel in question, outlined in blue, watershed boundary outlined in yellow. A closer aerial image of the parcel. Topography. Proposed project is a living shoreline on the James River. The living shoreline will consist of 3 rock sills, sand fill, and planting vegetation. The total linear feet of living shoreline is approximately 1,000 feet, and the total disturbed project area is 46,850 square feet. The project will be constructed from the water side with barges due to upland access limitations. Rock and sand will be brought to the site by barge and unloaded along the shoreline. The rock will be placed by an excavator on the barge, and the sand will be spread with a front-end loader or bobcat. The area landward of the sill, approximately 9,560 square feet, is proposed for beach nourishment and to be planted. The vegetation will be planted in the appropriate season to increase the chances of survival and propagation. No materials will be stored below the water line, and any staging areas will be restored to pre-construction conditions. Threatened and endangered species have been considered and identified within the project area. Those species include the northern long-eared bat, sensitive joint vetch, and the bald eagle. A bald eagle's nest is located on the site, but not within the construction limits. Work will occur outside of the December 15th and July 15th time of year restriction. Therefore, there are no anticipated impacts to the species. This project is proposed between mean low water and mean high water. Therefore, this project must be heard by the board. So this is a blown out image of the site plan showing the entire construction site, and the area here in orange is the proposed fill area. And then you have the 3 riprap sills here in white along the outer edge. Closer image of the fill area here that will be planted, and the first sill and the beginning of the second, and then the other side of the project. And this is their mitigation plan, showing where they intend to put the different species of plantings, and again on the other side. And cross-section images from the site plan. On February 1st, 2025, the Wetland Mitigation Compensation Policy of the Code of Virginia, Chapter 4 VAC, was amended. Virginia, as a Chesapeake Bay program partner, is committed to achieve a no net loss of existing wetlands acreage and function in the signatories regulatory program. In order for a proposed project to be authorized to impact wetlands and compensate for wetland loss in some prescribed manner, the following 3 criteria must be met. All reasonable mitigative efforts, including alternative siting, which would eliminate or minimize wetland loss or disturbance, must be incorporated in the proposal, and the proposal must clearly be water dependent in nature. The proposal must demonstrate clearly its need to be in the wetlands and its overwhelming public and private benefits. If the proposed project cannot meet one or more of the above criteria, the project must be denied or must occur in areas outside of the wetlands. Should it satisfy all 3 criteria, however, compensation for wetland loss is required. The sequence of acceptable mitigation options should be as follows: mitigation bank, approved in lieu fee program, permittee responsible on-site and in-kind mitigation, or permittee responsible mitigation through off-site or out-of-kind of mitigation within the same watershed. If compensation is required, it should be a condition of the permit. Staff has reviewed the application and finds that this project meets the 3 criteria outlined above. The applicant has proposed the gain of 27,852 square feet of wetlands through the planting of Spartina patents and Spartina alterniflora within the tidal range. Staff will require a mitigation surety as a approval condition to ensure these plantings, as well as a land disturbing permit and construction general permit. So here are some site photos of the construction area beginning on this end, and we'll work our way across. And as you can see, the bank is eroding pretty much the whole way across. And looking back, and again, we're working our way back towards this end. And there was pretty dense vegetation here, so this area wasn't accessible for staff. Staff has reviewed the above application and recommends approval of the application as presented. Should the board wish to approve the application, staff suggests the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project, and all development activities located in the specified flood hazard area shall comply with Article 6, Division 3, Floodplain Area Regulations of the James City County Zoning Ordinance, and receive all required approval and permits prior to the commencement of such activities. The applicant must submit a surety of $35,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 27,852 square feet of wetlands gains by the planting of Spartina patens and Spartina alterniflora. Within the tidal range, the applicant must submit an erosion and sediment control plan and obtain a land disturbing permit. The applicant must obtain a general construction permit from DEQ, and construction may not occur between December 15th to July 15th, adhering to the bald eagle time of year restrictions. And the wetland permit for this project shall expire October 8th, 2028, if construction has not already begun. If an extension of the permit is needed, a written request must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2028, 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions for Ms. Frazier?
Ms. Frazier, I have one question. On the site plan, there's a box to the left that has information, and if you go back to that site plan, go way back. There's a little box, yeah, see in the left? Can
Okay.
you, I can't make out all of the verbiage there. Over in the corner. There. Something about the sills or base, do you see?
Not entirely
Over in the left-hand corner,
Okay.
bottom left. Do you know what that says?
I would have to pull up the
Sorry.
site plan.
Ms. Bowie, I don't know exactly what that verbiage says there, but I know the general statement is that they will be adjusted in the field so they're not too deep. So they may go closer to shore. But the applicant is here tonight and they can address that.
And to the last lines, keep the same depth of what?
Yeah, they can explain that.
Okay, all right.
Ms.
Thank you.
Bowie, the note reads, locations of sills are based on conditions at the time of survey. Erosion has occurred since the survey, and structures may be shifted landward to accommodate the erosion and keep the structures at the same depth of water.
Thank you, Mr. Roadley. Any other questions for Ms. Frazier?
Is all this work going to be done from the water side or?
Yes, sir.
The area of vegetated wetlands that are being impacted?
There are no vegetated wetlands to be impacted at this time. They will be gaining vegetated wetlands once the project is completed.
Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, Ms. Frazier. I'd like to open up the public comment period for this item. Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Hearing none, seeing none. I'll close the public comment period. and the matters before the board.
Mr. Chairman, it's a fairly large project, but it appears to be well thought out in its approach, and it is a living shoreline. The only question that I had, and the reason I asked about the vegetated impacts, was with relation to the $35,000 bond. The wetland planting is not necessarily a mitigative measure. I know we want it to succeed, but I don't know if the applicant cares to address that issue tonight or not. It was just an observation. As a form of compensatory mitigation, a little bit more of an emphasis on making sure that it's successful. But I'm sure they want it to be successful, and it will be, but just an observation.
Else have any comments? This is a large project. I would agree with the staff's recommendation to approve this myself. Do we have a motion on the floor?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the permit request for Wetlands Board case number WJPA 250025 at 2292A Kitchum's Close.
Wilson, we have a motion to adopt.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, last item on the agenda for the public hearings, WJPA-24-0028 at 3096 North Riverside Drive. Ms. Grogine?
Hi again, Emily Grogine, Watershed Planner. Mr. Andrew Gurley of CLS Marine has requested a deferral to the November 13th hearing on behalf of the applicant.
All right, thank you. Have any questions for staff on that, or?
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
If you would, please open up the public hearing and keep it open until the November meeting.
Okay.
And then allow anybody to speak if they're here tonight on this case.
All right, is there anyone, I will open the public hearing, which will remain open until the November meeting. Is there anyone currently wishing to speak on this item? All right, hearing none, seeing none, I will keep the public hearing open until November's meeting. And this, the matters before the board. You have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to accept the deferral request for case number WJPA-24-0028 at 3096 North Riverside Drive.
All right, Mr. Wilson, we have a motion to accept the deferral request.
Motion to accept the deferral. Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, that is all the public hearings on the agenda for tonight. Any board considerations? Hearing none.
We will have board elections at the November meeting, just so you're aware.
Thank you. Board elections at the November meeting. All right, next on the agenda, matters of special privilege. Any matters of special privilege to be discussed? All right, hearing none, seeing none. We'll move on. Before we adjourn, we're going to take, due to the amount of cases on tonight's agendas, we're going to have a 5-minute recess after the adjournment of this meeting for the Chesapeake Bay meeting. So once we adjourn, we'll resume at about 5:40 p.m. Do you have a motion to
So moved.
adjourn? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned until 5:40 p.m.
I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, October 8th meeting of the Chesapeake Bay Board. The responsibility of this board is to carry out locally the Commonwealth policy to protect against and minimize pollution and deposition of sediment, in wetland streams, and lakes in James City County, which are tributaries to the Chesapeake Bay. Roll call, Mr. Wilson?
Mr. Roadley?
Yes?
Mr. Waltrip?
Here.
Mr. Woolsey?
Here.
Mr. May?
Here.
Ms. Bowie?
Here.
We've had an opportunity to review the minutes from the August 13th meeting. Any questions or additions or corrections? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes from the August 13th meeting as presented?
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Similar to the Wetlands Board, the public comment period offers a chance for community members to express their opinions. Topics discussed shall not be directly related to specific public hearing items. To participate, speakers must provide their name and address for the record. I will open the public comment period. Does anybody care to address the board? Hearing none, I will close the public comment period. Public hearings. The outline for tonight's public hearing will be a staff presentation followed by any questions or clarifications from the board. Then the public hearing will be opened. At that time, anybody wishing to speak may do so once called upon by the chair. All public speakers must state their name and address for the record. Presentations before the board are subject to time limits. After everyone wishing to speak has done so and discussion amongst the board has concluded, the public hearing will be closed. First item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0093 at 5520 North Mallard Run. Ms. Frazier.
Evening, Chairman, members of the board. Amanda Frazier, Watershed Planner. Mr. Nate Reams of Williams Landscape and Design has requested a deferral of this application for the exception to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance while the site plan is finalized for the project. Staff agrees with this request. As this case has been publicly noticed, staff recommends the public hearing remain open until the November 13th, 2025 meeting, at which time the case will be heard.
Any questions for staff? Thank you very much. I will open the public hearing. And you did say till next month, until the next meeting, regularly scheduled meeting. Can we have a motion to defer?
I'll make a motion to accept the deferral request for case number CBPA 25-0093.
1 moment.
Oh,
Is there any comment on this case before we move to deferral? I apologize. Hearing none, go right ahead.
all right, go ahead. Motion to accept the deferral request for case number CBPA 25-0093 at 5520 North Mallard Run.
Motion is to accept the deferral. Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0110 at 130 Cooley Road.
Evening, Chairman, members of the board. Amanda Frazier, Watershed Planner, presenting CVPA 25-0110. Ms. Patricia Lighton has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception request for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the replacement of a driveway and construction of a patio and gazebo located at 130 Cooley Road within the Indigo Park subdivision in the Mill Creek watershed. The parcel was platted in 1952 prior to the adoption of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance in 1990. Here's an aerial image showing the subject parcel in blue, a closer aerial image, topography, RPA, and the site plan. The total lot size of this property is 0.77 acres, of which 69% is located within the RPA. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing driveway and construct a patio and gazebo. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 686 square feet in the landward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals 1.5 planting units. The applicant has submitted a mitigation plan equaling 6 planting units, 3 canopy trees, 3 understory trees, and 50 shrubs, therefore satisfying county mitigation requirements. As you can see here, this is the existing driveway that is to be replaced, the proposed patio, and proposed gazebo. Disregard this one as well. Site photos of the property in its current condition. Here's the driveway to be replaced, and the patio area will be in this spot here in front of the door. Again, a closer image. And the gazebo was to be to the other side of the dwelling. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the replacement of a driveway and construction of a patio and gazebo. This application meets the ordinance conditions in section 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because construction of a patio and gazebo is considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions, which you have before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be minor for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval for this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions to be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicant must submit a surety of $1,500 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 3 canopy trees, 3 understory trees, and 50 shrubs. This exception request approval will become null and void if the construction has not begun by October 8th, 2026. And written requests for an extension of an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2026, 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. I'd be happy to take any questions at this time.
Any questions for staff?
Just want to be clear on the mitigation plantings. You said it was 3 canopy trees, 3 understory trees, and 50 shrubs.
Correct.
Okay, this screen says 6 shrubs.
Oh, my apologies.
No, you're good. Just wanted to double check.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much. With that, I will open the public hearing. Would anybody care to address the board on this case? Hearing none, I will pull it back to the board for discussion.
Chair, this was a minor impact, and I would agree with the staff's recommendation to accept this application.
Concur. Any other thoughts or comments? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing. The matter is before the board.
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception request for Chesapeake Bay Board case number CBPA-25-0110 at 130 Cooley Road.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0079 at 104 Doral.
Good evening, Chairman Roadley, members of the board. Emily Grogine, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0079. Mr. Chase Grogg of Land Tech Resources Incorporated has applied for Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. and Ms. Wilson for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a deck, patio, and retaining wall located at 104 Doral within the Fords Colony subdivision in the Powhatan Creek watershed. It got cut off in this image, but the yellow line indicating that watershed boundaries to the left here with the subject parcel outlined in blue. Moving further in, as you can see, the house is currently under construction, and that proposed area for the patio, deck, and retaining wall are in the back here, along with the topography and current RPA buffer. The total lot size of this property is 0.702 acres, of which 61% is located within the RPA. The applicants are proposing to construct a patio and deck and retaining wall. A previous plan for a proposed deck and patio was approved by the board on January 9th of 2025 under CBPA 24-0176. The current proposal before the board now includes the addition of a retaining wall, with the previously proposed deck and patio now being extended out an additional 3 feet. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to an additional 163 square feet of impervious impacts to the seaward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals an additional 1/2 planting unit or 6 shrubs, in addition to the previous mitigation requirements approved under CBPA 24-10176. The applicants have submitted a mitigation plan including the additional 1/2 unit. This meets county's mitigation requirements. This is the previously approved site/mitigation plan from January of this year. I want to highlight the previously approved deck patio here. As you'll see in the next slide showing the current site plan before you this evening, it is within the same footprint lengthwise, but like I said in my report, it's going out 3 feet this way. So moving in closer to the new site plan, you can see where it's bumped out that 3 feet with the addition of the retaining wall running along the back here. Otherwise, nothing else has changed with this plan and it remains exactly the same. A couple site photos here. As you can see how sloped it is, showing that need for the retaining wall. And then moving to the left where that proposed deck and patio will be in reference to the house and the proposed retaining wall, kind of staked right here if you can see it. Staff have evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a deck, patio, and retaining wall. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the construction of a deck, patio, and retaining wall are considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions outlined before you. Staff have reviewed the application and exception request and have determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be moderate for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval for this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicants must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicants must submit a surety of $500 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 1/2 planting unit or 6 shrubs, in addition to the required mitigation plantings approved under CBPA 24-0176. The applicants must record an affidavit in the Williamsburg James City County Courthouse prior to the release of any surety. The exception request approval will become null and void if construction is not begun by October 8th, 2026, and written requests for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division no later than August 27th, 2026, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Questions for staff? Go back to the site photo of the cross section. Yeah, right there. So I'm just curious, the red ribbon represents the location of the retaining wall?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Just go ahead. Just out of curiosity, is that tree going to have to come down with the footing for the retaining wall?
It was not noted in the site plan. If it were to come down, it would need authorization from staff before doing so.
What type of a wall is it, and what's the height of it? Got any drainage going through it to catch water or anything? I don't see any breakdown on that at all.
I'm going to defer that to the applicant.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
With that, I'll open the public hearing. Would anybody care to address the board on this project? Mr. Grogg.
Good evening, members of the board. Chase Grogg with Land Tech Resources, 205 Bullifonts Boulevard, Suite E, Williamsburg, Virginia, 23188. Thank you, Ms. Grogine, for your presentation. As mentioned and discussed, this project received previous approval from the Chesapeake Bay Board in January of this year. There are 2 reasons this case is coming back before you. The first is around the extension of the deck with patio below. During our previous submission to you, the deck was shown at a shorter depth than what the homeowner originally was expecting. Once the home construction began, the builder and owner realized the mistake and brought it to our attention. We discussed that, though a minor change, it would need to be brought back to this board for approval. Around the same time, the grading behind the home was taking place, and it became evident to better stabilize the rear yard, a small retaining wall would be the best fix. This wall will allow for a flatter yard directly behind the home for stability, and then the proposed wall will extend to the existing grade. Mitigation plants will be planted on the low side to also allow for this area to return to a more natural area versus the maintained yard close to the residence. Required mitigation has been adjusted to reflect the minor increase in impervious as well. Based on the information I've provided, as well as staff's recommendations for this case, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson and myself request approval for this application. In answer to your question, Mr. Waltrip, the wall will be under 3 feet tall, so it will not be required to be engineered. Planned to just be a simple segmental wall with an under drain behind it. So yes, since the backyard has only about, I believe it's about a half a foot of fall. Yeah, it's about a half a foot. So we show the adjacent grade behind the house at 51 and a top of wall around 50.5. So a pretty decent flat yard. So any water that's there would infiltrate in and most likely either gently go over the wall or infiltrate into that drainage system behind the wall. As for the tree, I believe we're going to be a little further to the left, so I don't believe that will be an impact. And since it doesn't need to be engineered, they should be able to work the footer around that. But of course, any tree removal will be coordinated with staff.
Good. Any questions for Mr. Grog? Thank you, sir.
Perfect, thank you.
Anybody else care to address the board on this matter? I will bring the discussion back to the board. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Mr. Chair, I would be in support of this application. The minor addition of 3 feet in addition to, I think, the retaining wall certainly will be beneficial for the backyard, so I would be in support of this.
Kerr? Any other discussion? With that, I will close the public hearing. The matter is before the board.
The chair would make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception request for Chesapeake Bay Board, case number CBPA-25-0079 at 104 Doral.
Wilson.
Motion is to adopt Mr. Waltrip,
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey,
Yes.
Mr. May,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie,
Yes.
Mr. Roadley.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0090 at 117 Pleasant Point.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. Amanda Frazier, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0090. Mr. Kortkov has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a shed located at 117 Pleasant Point within the Riverview Plantation subdivision and the Skimino Creek watershed. The parcel was platted in 1962 prior to the adoption of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance in 1990. Here you can see the subject parcel outlined in blue and the watershed boundary outlined in yellow. Closer aerial image of the subject parcel. The shed location will be approximately in the spot here. Our topography, RPA, and site plan. The total lot size of this property is 0.3 acres, of which 50% is located within the RPA. The applicant is proposing to construct a shed behind the existing dwelling. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 120 square feet in the landward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals half a planting unit. The applicant has submitted a mitigation plan equaling half a planting unit, 6 shrubs, therefore satisfying county mitigation requirements. A site photo of the location proposed for the shed and the mitigation plantings that the owner has already planted. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a shed. This application meets the ordinance conditions in section 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the construction of a shed is considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions, which you have before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be minor for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval of this application request. And if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicant must submit a surety of $500 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 6 shrubs. This exception request approval will become null and void if construction has not begun by October 8th, 2026. Written request for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2026, 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. Be happy to take any questions at this time.
Questions for staff?
Question, you showed a patio there in front of the shed that.
Correct.
What is the size of that
Um,
and the material for it?
I am not sure of the material. I believe it may be concrete.
Outside of the RPA?
It is outside of the RPA, so if you have additional questions on
Okay.
that.
That's why it wasn't mentioned.
Back to the site photo of the location of the shed, the ground photo. There you go. So not a great deal of slope at that location. It does appear to slope to the rear, but not tremendously. The only question I was wondering is, given its location, would it require any type of, stormwater catch for the runoff? But a lot of times, as you know, on these projects that encroach, we end up with trying to safeguard against future erosion that may present itself. And the aerial may be skewed, but is there an opportunity to build this outside of the RPA?
I'll defer that to the applicant.
Gary, that was going to be my question too. It appears there's room, and I was going to ask what if it could be brought out of the RPA, but they may have specific reasons for that. I don't know if there's a septic system there or drain field or what.
Thank you very much. With that, I will open the public hearing. Would anybody care to address the board on this matter?
My name is Artem Kortkov. I'm the owner of the property, and I'm here to answer your questions.
Could you put your address for the record?
117 Pleasant Point.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. So if you come just down this way, this is where the septic tank is, just like you suspected. There's not really anywhere else I can think of. We can put the shed and satisfies all the measurements and to be outside of the neighbor's property and so on and so forth. The grade is not represented really well, but it's quite steep actually. It's from the front to the back. It's about 26, 28 inches roughly. If I have
really,
to-
for the shed?
Yeah, and it gets really steep to the water. It's probably 30 feet of drop to the water. I do have additional renderings if that clears up any questions for you. So the patio it's kind of like just overhang, and that patio portion will be actually outside of the RPA. I brought it out this way as much as I can possibly.
Just an observation, you might want to consider, I don't know if you're considering gutters or other type of.
Yes.
You are?
Yep.
So that you can direct that flow into an area that's contained so that it level spreads across the ground.
Absolutely. It's actually my wife is all about gardening, so it will be a couple one of those barrels to collect all that water. Well,
Very good.
about that.
That should address my comment.
Shrubs already been planted, and I purchased additional 7 plants on top of what the board requires, so it'll be taken care of.
Is the size of the shed? Maybe I missed it if you said.
The shed itself is 10 by 12, and the patio, I want to say it's another 60 square feet, maybe. It's in application. I apologize, I don't remember from top of my head. But the portion that's in the RPA, it will be less than 10 by 12.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to address the board on this matter? With that, I will pull the matter back to the board for discussion. Another fairly minimal impact. The applicant has taken measures to help safeguard against future sheet flow erosion. Don't have a particular problem with this one.
Either, Chair, I would be in support of this.
With that, I will close the public hearing. The matter is before the board.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the resolution to grant the exception request for Chesapeake Bay Board case number CBPA 25-0090 at 117 Pleasant Point.
Mr. Wilson?
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The next item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0107 at 105 Ambrose Hill.
Evening, Chairman, members of the board. Amanda Fraser, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0107. Mr. David Soto of the Structures Group has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. Lee Scott and Ms. Jenny Trainum for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a retaining wall located at 105 Ambrose Hill within the Kings Mill subdivision and the College Creek watershed. The parcel was platted in 1981 prior to the adoption of the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance in 1990. Here you can see the subject parcel in blue and the watershed boundary in yellow. Closer aerial image of the subject parcel, current topography, and the RPA. Total lot size of this property is 0.54 acres, of which 64% is located within the RPA. The applicants are proposing to construct a retaining wall behind the existing dwelling to replace a failing retaining wall. The total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 157 square feet of new impervious in the landward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals half a planting unit. The applicants have submitted a mitigation plan equaling half a planting unit in the form of 6 shrubs, therefore satisfying county mitigation requirements. This is the existing condition site plan showing the existing failing retaining wall in this location, this portion of the RPA. And this is the proposed site plan for the retaining wall replacement and the mitigation plantings here in green. Cross section of the retaining wall. Site photos coming in from the driveway. The retaining wall extends up this direction and coming closer to the backyard. And this is looking along the other side, along the back of the property, and then coming back the other direction from that same corner. And again, the new retaining wall will continue up through here. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a retaining wall. This application meets the ordinance conditions for section 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the construction of a retaining wall is considered accessory in nature. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions, which you have before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be minor for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval of this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicants must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicants must submit a surety of $500 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 6 shrubs. This exception request approval will become null and void if construction has not begun by October 8th, 2026, and written requests for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2026, 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. Be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for staff? Thank you very much. With that, I will open the public hearing. Would anybody care to address the board on this matter?
David Soto, the Structures Group, 1200 Old Colony Lane. Here to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions?
Any drawings on the project?
Yeah. Construction drawings?
Nothing to go.
Oh, you mean?
Emily, or is that what you were,
Yeah, that's
go
what
back
I
to
was-
the cross
That's what I
section.
was looking at. So it's actually two walls there.
Yeah, towards the bottom left corner.
Yeah.
It's for the mitigation plantings, and I think the total height was over 6.5 feet.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. Would anybody else care to address the board on this matter? Hearing none, I'll pull it back to the board. It appears to be a large encroachment, but given that there's an existing retaining wall that's failing, doing nothing would be worse. And it appears that they've taken necessary precautions to account for the seepage and hydraulic head that will generate. So I have no real questions with this.
I concur, Mr. Chair.
I agree.
With that, I will close the public hearing. The matter is before the board.
Make a motion to adopt a resolution to grant the exception request Chesapeake Bay case number CBPA 25-0107 at 105 Ambrose Hill.
Wilson.
Motion is to adopt. Mr. Waltrip, Mr. Woolsey,
Yes.
Mr. May,
Yes.
Ms. Bowie,
Yes.
Mr. Roadley.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0072 at 121 Mahogany Run.
Good evening, Board. Emily Grogine, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0072. Mr. Chase Grogg of Land Tech Resources Incorporated has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Mr. Gary and Ms. Carol Mankin for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a single-family dwelling with an attached deck located at 121 Mahogany Run within the Fords Colony subdivision in the Powhatan Creek watershed. You can see that watershed boundary outlined in yellow, along with the subject parcel in blue. And if we move closer in, this is the recent aerial photography of the site, along with its topography, what should be the RPA buffer, but will be shown on the site plan here. The total lot size of this property is 0.514 acres, of which 100% is located within the RPA. The applicants are proposing to construct a single-family dwelling with an attached deck. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 1,400 square feet of impacts to the landward 50-foot RPA, 2,544 square feet of impacts to the seaward 50-foot RPA. The minimum square footage for the living area in this section of Fords Colony for a two-story home is 1,500 square feet. This proposal has a living area of 1,819 square feet, a 21% increase. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals 10 planting units or 10 canopy trees, 20 understory trees, and 30 shrubs. The applicants have proposed a mitigation plan equaling 1 canopy tree, 8 understory trees, and 90 shrubs with the addition of 3 micro bioretention stormwater best management practices or BMPs. This meets the county's mitigation requirements. Prior to the release of surety, the applicant must submit a letter of installation from a qualified professional to the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division. No surveyed as-built drawings are required, but this letter must verify compliance with all approved construction plans for stormwater BMP facilities. Staff are requesting that an affidavit be recorded in the Williamsburg, James City County Courthouse due to the environmental sensitivity of the lot. So the current site and mitigation plan is outlined before you here. All 50 landward impacts are highlighted in purple, with those in the 50 seaward being in orange, with the 3 proposed microbial retention BMPs outlined in pink. We have the building setbacks here in this little square blue line, along with the boundary of the wetlands that have been delineated in this green here. The proposed limits of disturbance are in this little buffer here, with some select clearing for sanitary sewer connections, as there is some sort of utility easement located to the rear of the lot here that abuts the edge of the pond located behind the property. Just moving in a bit closer so you can get a better look at that, along with all the mitigation plantings that have been proposed. Some are not highlighted, but they're tucked in here between this little sidewalk and the house. And just to kind of give you an idea of what's already staked out in the field, this is a rough estimate of where that driveway is. Kind of, you can't see it on this photo as well once it's on the screen, but there are 2 stakes that I'll show you here shortly that kind of indicate those 2 corners of that proposed garage. This is a side shot of that. You have the 1 stake here and another back here that's hard to make out. And then kind of going towards the back of the lot, we have these 2 stakes here that indicate the back of the house where that attached porch is going to be. And just moving over to those 2 stakes to give you a better idea of where that attached enclosed porch is going to be. And then turning to the left in that same spot, showing kind of the further reach of the rear of the proposed home. And then moving closer to that corner to kind of show you back the other way the extent of that left corner of the home. And then turning to look up just to give you a better idea of the existing slope and contour on the property, looking back towards that front left corner of the home. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a single-family dwelling and an attached deck. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because it is a new single-family dwelling. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions outlined before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be major for the proposed development. If the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicants must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicants must submit a surety of $5,000 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 1 canopy tree, 8 understory trees, and 90 shrubs, as well as the addition of 3 microbial retention stormwater BMPs. The applicants must submit a letter of installation from a qualified professional to the Stormwater and Resource Protection Division prior to the release of surety. This letter must verify compliance with all approved construction plans for stormwater BMP facilities, and again, no surveyed as-built drawings are required. The applicants must record an affidavit in the Williamsburg-James City County Courthouse prior to the release of surety, and a 6-foot chain link fence must be installed along the limits of disturbance that border the wetland system prior to the start of construction. This exception request approval will become null and void if construction is not begun by October 8th of 2026, and written requests for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2026, which is 6 weeks prior to that October expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Any questions for Emily?
I have just one question. So for the water that runs off of this property, does it run towards the adjacent pond?
Based on the contours, yes, but there is a proposed swale. It's not shown on this site plan. It's shown on the main site plan, but I just combined with the mitigation plan to make it easier. But there's proposed grading along here to kind of help direct that because, again, we try to prevent cross-lot drainage with these site plans. And there is also a swale, I believe, that's proposed here. And then the microbio BMPs, but I can allow Mr. Grog to speak to that more.
You mentioned in the report that the living area of this house is 21% more than the minimum required by Ford's Colony. That's not first floor area, that's total living area?
So from my understanding, it's first floor living area, and the definition of the living area doesn't include the garage. It just includes what we would consider the livable area in here.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Very good. With that, I will open the public hearing. Would anybody care to address the board? Mr. Grog?
Good evening again, members of the board. Chase Grog with Land Tech Resources, 205 Bullifonts Boulevard, Suite E, Williamsburg, Virginia, 23188. Thank you, Emily, for your presentation on this tricky Ford's Colony parcel. I've been working on this lot myself for over a year now in an effort to bring the best proposal forward to this board. For Land Tech as a whole, the project dates back to 2009. As we are all aware, this is one of the remaining lots in Ford's Colony that proposes its own interesting challenges when it comes to home construction. Once we settled on a house footprint and design, I knew the first thing I needed to do was approach Ford's Colony to try and receive a conceptual front setback variance for the house. A project like this falls into the category of how to not get the cart in front of the horse. By that I mean we did not submit a full HOA package to Ford's Colony as we wanted to approach this board prior to the approvals needed with Ford's Colony. What we did instead was show the board the proposed placement and grading and get a level of confidence that upon the formal HOA submission, they would most likely approve the front setback variance. That email correspondence has been provided to staff as record, stating this was conceptual review only. ARC noted that they would grant the variance for the 1.8-foot corner setback for the garage. The image above is the record of that submission to Ford's Colony. If this conceptual approval was changed at the formal submission, a new application would need to be submitted to this board as we would be revising any approval received from you. The next slide is a picture I got from the BMP as-built located behind this proposed residence. As our site plan indicates, there's a low area in the middle of the lot that collects our water that helped to create the wetland pocket that we are doing our best to be situated around. It appears to show at one point there was a plan when the development was being done to fill in this low spot. I mainly point this out to both show how we are where we are now with existing wetlands and where we may have been if the development plan had been followed. Staff in their presentation has pointed out that our square footage as being 21% increase to the minimum square footage for this section of Ford's Colony. This image is an aerial of the home similarly situated in the vicinity of our proposed construction. Due to James City County GIS not breaking out first floor square footage, I have done these numbers based on whole home square footage. You will see that we range from 860 to 1,640 square feet smaller than our closest neighbors. Even with that in mind, we still wanted to mitigate for the increase in impervious as reflected on the similarly approved lots in Ford's Colony. This image is an idea for what the 3 microbioretention ponds will look like that are proposed around the house. The BMPs will have roughly 929 square feet of roof runoff directed to them to infiltrate into the soil to be utilized by the plants installed in them or to slowly flow through the pipe and out the bottom. Water that is not directed to these BMPs will flow through 2 adjoining swales around both sides of the house to sheet flow into the woods and the wetlands. From that point, the water will continue to JCC BMP PC 085, which flows into JCC BMP PC 086, which flows into JCC BMP PC 087, which then flows into the Long Hill Swamp. These 4 levels of treatment will help to ensure that this project is not a degradation to water quality in the Long Hill Swamp. In addition to the extensive BMP features, we are proposing to plant the required mitigation plants as broken out on our mitigation plan. With this dual approach, we hope to prevent any environmental concerns with this development. Based on the information I've provided, my client and myself would recommend approval for this project, and I'm happy to answer any other questions than you've already proposed. I will state that I had a phone conversation with the neighbor to the right of us who was concerned about our drainage. If we go back to existing contours are the dashed ones in behind. Solid contours are our proposed contours. For the most part, a majority of this lot as it sits today, except for a small triangle over here, drains into, oh, I guess I clicked. Oh no, Mike. I've gone rogue. Thank you, sir. So a majority, that's why this low spot's here. That's where it's a bowl that's surrounded by the property, and it slowly drains out into the pond located behind. What our proposal, I'm not touching the mouse anymore. What our proposal does is the water down the front and basically to the left, the driveway will sheet flow in just because the lot does sit down. To the left, all of that water goes to the left. So that means, it's an A-frame roof on the front, so majority of all that water is going to the left to where it's going today. On the right side of the property, the contours there indicate that a berm will be placed because the contours leave the grades, go up, come back, create the swale, and then tie in. So a concern there was that there would be a physical berm here to direct the water around to the back as it was designed. On top of it, this swale on the right that was a concern does not have a gross majority of water flowing to it, as the roof in the back will be directed to the microbial retention. So pretty much just what the water that lands on a quarter of the driveway and what lands on this right side will flow through that right driveway, and most likely a roof leader off the front right of that garage. So as this board's aware, it's not exactly a board consideration, but I did want to put that on the record, as well as any plot plan that we do has to go through both Ford's Colony approval for grading, which they're very stringent on, as well as county staff. So for me at the moment, I don't have a major concern of cross lot drainage. Happy to answer any other concerns or questions you have at this time.
Pretty confident that you've got the drainage under control.
Yeah, it's a bowl at the moment. I mean, that's the whole reason. The topography and why those wetlands are there is because it's a bowl, and I don't we could go back to staffs that has more of the contours, but there's basically primarily down the right property line is a natural berm. It flows, their lot was kind of dug in, it appears, was dug in when that was built, and so our water all comes into this middle spot. So we have the proper drainage away from the house. We have the roof lead or the microbial retentions that'll capture that roof runoff and infiltrate into the soil, as well as then out the pipe in the bottom during a big rain event.
Any other questions for Mr. Grog? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board? Feel free.
Jane Banfield, 125 Mahogany Run. I am the neighbor to the right. I had numerous concerns. I mean, I knew that there was going to be a house built there at some time, and I welcome new neighbors, and I just liked it to be done so that there are not problems created for anyone in the future. I was told, actually, you weren't going to address anything in terms of drainage off to this side, which I think is excessive, and I've already told Mr. Grog that I didn't believe a swale was going to be sufficient, and I was going to request a protective berm through the HOA. And I also did talk to the HOA, and they said the variance was a conditional. They haven't looked at anything or heard from me either. So, but my concern here to ask you today is, what is really not being shown? It is very close to the property line there, but on that property line, there are considerable large trees. Many of the other trees are going to be taken down for the homes to be built. That's understandable. But there are many others that are right on that property line or just slightly over onto my side of the property line. And my concern is with their excavation coming down, right down the property line, they're going to come down and take everything out and damage any root system that is there or any additional trees that come out. So I am requesting that there is an additional 10 feet added on to the side setbacks in order to protect that. So, yeah, and there is a low area. It does turn into be very flat. So you do need the trees to absorb the water that is coming down through there. The type of soil, it's a wetland soil. I mean, I am well aware that if the house I live in today wasn't built in 2000, it would not be there. And perhaps neither one of these would be lots either. So I'm trying to do the best that we can to work with what we have. I've done several things on my own through the Soil Conservation Department to eliminate erosion in the back. But anyway, so that, And then I was just, I'm asking for the additional 10 feet and the protection of those additional trees on that right-hand side, because that would leave that really wide open pretty much. And then your mitigation plan, I know that you do it, you look at it on a numbers by numbers basis. What will this feed in it? And I'm asking you to leave that open for final agreement until after the building is completed and we see what would be the more appropriate type of vegetation to plant there, rather than allowing 90 shrubs to replace 20 tall trees or understory trees. And then the size of the shrubs would and of course that would probably, a lot of it would be going through Ford's Colony as well. But the size of the shrubbery also has to do with the absorption, what is being planted there, how close they are planted, and where. And that was, I have other questions, anything I can answer for you, I'll be happy to do that as well.
Questions for Ms. Banfield?
Your remarks on this is strictly from a homeowner.
Homeowner in terms of what? I mean, in terms of?
You live next door?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
I do, and I know, as I said, I know there's a lot of water runoff there, and as my concern was that area right there, that 10 feet, and if they remove the additional trees that are there or damage anything that is over onto my side, there'll be additional runoff. That's why I thought I would like to see the home moved over more and the trees protected that are there. Because there is an easement, as you see down there, and they came through there, I guess, about 8 years ago and removed a lot of the larger trees from down there. So naturally, it's getting wetter and wetter because there's nothing there to absorb the water that's there. So.
I might ask, does the water currently flow onto your property from this property?
Well, in a way, yes. I had done some mitigation to prevent that because it did actually run. If we had mulch on our side, it would run in and the mulch would be in the driveway. But I have a terraced rain garden that I put on my side. So now it just comes down through the back. But as I said, my concern is that with all the trees and the type of soil that we have right there, which is a wetland soil, the more you build into it, it just squishes out, and it has to have someplace for the water to go. And or for it to be absorbed by something there. And I'll have all the, cross-lot water addressed there, but I think that is a big concern of mine, that all the remaining trees would be coming down in that area. And there was no picture of that, so I can't really refer to it.
Sir.
A question. So is your main concern that in the process of building and doing the site work on this property, that heavy equipment, things like that, going down the property line would damage the root system on trees on your side of the property line?
Oh, yes, on that, and the ones that are right on the property line, I'm sure there wouldn't even be a question as to where they would go. So even though that you're not supposed to, there's a 10-foot setback from the property line. So I said I'm asking for an additional 10 so that they would not come anywhere near some of those other trees that are there. Or some other consideration could be made for them. But I find that all of the trees will be taken down with the house being built, and a lot more would be lost if there is not care given in the way it is constructed. So I said, just as you had a chain link fence around the wetlands, I was asking for some kind of protective barrier there so that I don't have to chain myself to a tree when they come out to excavate the property.
With that.
No, I wouldn't want that either. They probably wouldn't see me. I'm below eye level.
Any other questions for Ms. Banfield? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Would anybody else care to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Diane Druitt, and I am a trustee at New Zion Baptist Church. We understand that the property, the proposed bill may be an encroachment upon our church property is a part of the encroachment that we're discussing here tonight. We have not had an opportunity to look at to review the plot. We got this letter at church on Sunday. We received it on Sunday, and we would like the opportunity to have, to review the encroachment and review the resource protected area. So we're respectfully requesting a continuation of this until our trustee board can meet to further discuss and to review the plan.
Where is your property in relation to this lot?
Where is our property?
Yes.
We're not sure, but we have not had a chance to look at it to find out. Since we received the letter,
Mr. Wilson, can you shed any light on the?
I believe the church property, Mr. Rodley, is north of this property, across the BMP.
Side of the water.
That Mr. Grog referenced in his presentation. It should be this field here where my cursor is.
Uh-huh.
And I do believe that church owns that property. And that would be why they got an adjacent property notification.
So this is the lot in question, which is the vacant one, and there's the pond there that is common area for Ford's Colony.
right?
And then your guys' property is the field on the other side of the BMP. So we are not proposing, the letter you got was a letter that said, hey, an adjoining property owner has an application in for a public meeting, and it's a notice, but we're not proposing any work on your lot.
I understand that, but we still have not had an opportunity, and we still respectfully request a continuation.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anybody else to speak on this matter? Mr. Grog.
I want to give a quick context to Ms. Banfield's comment. No issue with the berm. It's pretty much already shown there. When we go through Ford's Colony, more than happy to add a call out there for there to be a berm along that right side property line. The flat area, the concern with what, we're not proposing any disturbance in the wetlands. That's the last thing we would want to do. We want that to stay vegetated in its current state. And that is why the house is as far to the right and forward. And so while I would love to slide a house to the left, I believe that that would then impact wetlands, even with a slightly smaller house due to the wetlands coming up there. So any house slide to the left, our rear corner is going to be at a point where disturbance isn't, normally the minimum I like to go for our houses is about 10 feet to allow a contractor. I feel that that's a reasonable, just like with the property line on the right, that's a reasonable distance to a property line as well as wetlands to be able to construct something and not go beyond that line. And then the last thing I'll say is our mitigation plan shows canopy trees, understory, and shrubs, but we do leave a note on there that final plantings are to be coordinated with staff. Ford's Colony requires a landscape plan that they have to approve. So that's a very easy request as well that can be handled. As I was kind of talking about with the cart and the horse, that there'll be a package that gets submitted to Ford's Colony that all of the neighbors get to review as well and put their opinion in on. So the concern about landscaping from both a neighborly effect as well as mitigation effect can be addressed at that point.
The concern for the potential damage to trees and root structure, I'm not sure I saw an image that shows the actual trees along that property line.
Yeah, I don't know that I could, I mean, can you go back to the, can you go back to the aerial, Mike? That was right. Yeah, I mean, I guess there, so the stone goes pretty much to the property line. The GIS lines obviously, have some play there. So, yes, there are potentially some trees down that right side. 10 feet is a pretty significant, space away for cutting. Homes in the neighborhood are built right at the 10-foot setback line. I can't stand here tonight and tell you which trees would, for sure, but.
I mean,
We can't go on someone else's property and clear, I
No,
can say that
yeah.
much.
yeah, understood. I'm not sure we have the information to totally address that comment.
Chair, can I just ask one question, Mr. Groves? So for, would it be, is it possible to put some sort of a barrier, temporary fencing, something like that, on that right side property line that would pretty much guarantee protection of the root system? Would it kind of mitigate the neighbors' concerns, or is that not practical?
I don't think it's practical from the standpoint of there will most likely be silt fence along that line as well, due to the development and that some of that water drains that way from both a ENS perspective, and I can't get away from that. Silt socks have become more prevalent. I don't know if anyone's done those on residential homes yet, but there may be another ENS measure that we could look at that wouldn't trench, something along there. Because the majority of the digging would be at the house standpoint. A swale would not be anything very significant, as well as for a portion of that, it's actually fill in there because we are ensuring that that water is not going towards her property.
Any other questions or comments from Mr. Grog?
Is the blue boundary line the lot size? That's where the stakes are at each corner.
Yeah, there's not stakes back there in the pond, but yes, that's the actual outline. So we are as far front, the front left is a slope straight down, so there's not a great opportunity to put a house up on there. The middle to the back is all are the wetlands, sewer connection on the right. So, a house that would get proposed and or constructed on this lot would be in this front area for both topography and environmental reasons.
Could you describe again, once again, just for clarity, the process moving forward once this board acts on the application?
Once this board acts on the application, going down the path of denial, obviously, or deferral or denial, we're coming back. But so to go down the approval standpoint, I would, based on tonight's discussion, I would be adding in the berm on that right side, the notes for that berm, provide that to the builder that would submit an entire package to Ford's Colony. Ford's Colony, both their the home gets reviewed for architectural standards, as well as their grounds and maintenance, scrutinize the plans I get red line markups with where they want more hay bales and super silt fence on most of our, on a hand, not most, but they make comments on them. So I get, I just got one back today on a lot that's not even in the RPA. So Ford's Colony scrutinizes it. And then once there's a Ford's Colony approval, that all gets submitted to the county for them to get their, swing at it. So it gets reviewed by both of those parties for both, I guess, design and architecture, as well as grading to make sure we're meeting all ENS standards. And then, staff has their ENS inspectors that are out there during construction to ensure that all of that is then abided by during construction. So, and on top of that, Ford's Colony has their inspector out there as well. So lots in Ford's Colony have lots with RPA in Ford's Colony get 3 different reviews and approvals and get double scrutiny when constructed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anybody else care to address the board on this matter? I will pull it back to the board for discussion.
Mr. Chair, I would, this one, this being the minimum lot size, we always look at, or not lot size, but the minimum home size, and for that area. This one is 20% over. However, this one is somewhat unique in that there are 4 levels of BMPs right there where this water's going to go, and also the 3 micro BMPs that they're including on there are certainly help as well. So I do also, I do have concerns with the neighbors, concerns about damaging trees on her property during the construction process. I know that there's, realistically, I know the builder and would do the best that they could to not go on her property and damage things on her property, and there is that setback there that should protect that. This is, I think I would be willing to support this measure with the additional, the 4 levels of treatment, the BMPs and the 3 micro BMPs. I would be, I think, in support of this.
Thank you, Mr. May. Anybody else care to make comments?
I do take the neighbors' concerns very seriously. And then I feel like, in a sense, if we follow the course that Mr. Grogg's suggesting, we're yielding some of our responsibility to Ford's Colony in making some of these decisions. I'm a little reluctant to do that.
Waltrip?
I don't know if deferring this thing.
The only question that I have, and while Mr. Grogg addressed an additional 10-foot separation between the home and the property line as a potential impact to the jurisdictional wetlands on the property, I'm wondering if there is a happy medium that provides some degree of assurance for the neighbor. And we can't control we can control the cutting of trees, but in the construction of the house on their property, there will be clearing required. And to the extent the root systems of the neighboring property extend onto that property, I think the neighbor is simply asking, what can we do to help ensure that those trees aren't negatively affected? And I see that as a reasonable request. And we have an interest in preserving trees within the RPA. So I will ask Mr. Grogg pointedly, is there a happy medium between the wetlands and providing additional separation for the neighboring property?
I unfortunately about this until I received the letter. That's when I gained. I had known about, and I did call Mr. Grogg, and I really didn't have a chance to express my interest to him, or I guess these would be my new neighbors over here, to them as well. And I would like to point out, walk down the street and point out which are the trees that I am very concerned about, and see if there's some way that we can resolve that. I'm perfectly amenable to that, but that was not an opportunity that was ever given to me.
So I will again ask Mr. Grogg.
We'll go ahead and request a deferral for a month. What I will say here is, I don't believe my concern, and I don't know if we can go back to the site plan real quick. I've had good luck with this mouse tonight. So just for it here, my concern is that the setback variance we received for Ford's Colony was for this corner, just because the asphalt out here, it's not necessarily like a big straight front setback variance request. It was for this corner to be able to honor this here. So while the idea of shifting this, because I was just sitting there looking at it, if going 5 feet directly horizontal, while that seems like the answer, it throws the front left corner of the garage over the front setback. So any discussion of a shifts the house more in an up and left direction rather than a exact horizontal, because I was sitting there and I was like, okay, I'm looking at it and like, yeah, it could kind of work. But that's my concern at the moment. And, you know, the depth of our house on the left is already 29 feet. I mean, there's not much of a, we're very, we're very stretched out as it is. So, yeah, we can further have the discussion, and get the property line staked and have that meeting, but I'm not sure how much the application will switch within a month because of those parameters.
Have that meeting and see what you can do. Yep. We would appreciate that consideration.
Of course. So we'll request a deferral for next month's hearing.
Thank you. Public hearing is still open. The applicant has requested a deferral till the next regularly scheduled meeting. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I would make a motion to accept the deferral request for case number CBPA-25. I'm sorry, that was the wrong one.
Bottom of the page.
I'm sorry, yes, I would make a motion to accept the deferral request for case number CBPA-25-0072 at 121 Mahogany Run.
Mr. Wilson?
Motion is for deferral. Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Motion for deferral passes 5-0.
Next item on the agenda is CBPA 25-0091.
Good evening, Board. Emily Grogine, Watershed Planner, presenting CBPA 25-0091. Mr. Chase Grogg of Land Tech Resources Incorporated has applied for a Chesapeake Bay exception on behalf of Ms. Carol Scotch for encroachments into the RPA buffer for the construction of a building addition located at 4428 Landfall Drive within the Landfall at Jamestown subdivision in the Powhatan Creek watershed. The parcel was platted in 2001 prior to the revisions to the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Ordinance in 2004. We have that watershed boundary outlined in yellow here along with the subject parcel in blue. Moving closer in, where the proposed addition will be going, along with the existing topography, RPA, and the current conservation easement, along with the floodplain. The applicants, because their proposal currently would encroach into the conservation easement, they are proposing to rededicate portions of that easement elsewhere on the property. The portions they would be removing are outlined in red before you. And the rededicated area would be in green here. Moving closer in just to show you where the proposal is in terms of the RPA, all impacts are to the 50 landward, and they are outlined in purple here along with the proposed mitigation in green. The total lot size of this property is 0.998 acres, of which 67% is located within the RPA. The applicant is proposing to construct an addition on the back of the existing single-family dwelling. Total impacts to the RPA associated with this proposal equate to 164 square feet of impervious impacts to the landward 50-foot RPA. Required mitigation for this amount of impervious impacts equals half a planting unit or 6 shrubs. The applicant has proposed a mitigation plan equaling 9. This exceeds the county's mitigation requirements. Staff has evaluated the application and exception request for the construction of a building addition. This application meets the ordinance conditions in sections 23-11 and 23-14 and should be heard by the board because the building addition is moving closer towards the resource protection area. That proposed area is right here, just kind of looking from the far right side of the lot, moving a little bit closer. It would be coming off this portion of the existing home to here, moving further around the house just to give you an idea of, again, where that's going in reference to the existing single-family dwelling, and just moving closer this way to give you an idea of where that conservation easement will be rededicated as well as replanted. The board may grant exceptions to section 23-7 if the application meets the following 5 conditions outlined before you. Staff has reviewed the application and exception request and has determined the impacts associated with the proposal to be moderate for the proposed development. Staff recommends approval for this exception request, and if the board wishes to approve the request, staff recommends the following conditions be incorporated into the approval. The applicant must obtain all other necessary federal, state, and local permits as required for the project. The applicant must submit a surety of $500 in a form acceptable to the James City County Attorney's Office to guarantee the mitigation plan equaling 9 shrubs. The applicant must submit a deed of exchange for natural open space prior to the issuance of a building permit. The applicant must replant the conservation easement. The applicant must record an affidavit in the Williamsburg James City County Courthouse prior to the release of any surety. And the exception request approval will become null and void if construction is not begun by October 8th of 2026. And written requests for an extension to an exception must be submitted to the SRP division no later than August 27th, 2026, which is 6 weeks prior to the expiration date. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them at this time.
Questions for staff? Thank you, Emily. I'll open the public hearing.
Ace Grog again, Land Tech Resources, 205 Bullifunds Boulevard, Suite E, Williamsburg, Virginia. I'm here tonight representing Mr. and Mrs. Shook, who are in attendance this evening in support of this application. Been very patient. As described by staff's presentation, this project proposes a very low impact to the RPA. The area we have chosen for the addition is off of an existing porch and will have minimal impact to the surrounding environment due to the lack of vegetation and flat topography of the lot. The existing sidewalk to the right, providing access to the rear of the lot, presented a challenge when looking to other locations to place the addition. Part of this application is to relocate the existing conservation easement into a new area of the lot and replant this area to ensure it returns to a natural state, which you saw from photos was already pretty much there. This swap also allowed us the opportunity to relocate some of the easement around the existing walls to bring them into compliance on the property as well. You'll also notice on the plan that there was a fire pit that has been removed from the property. During this process, we discovered that the fire pit had been placed there without a permit and thus needed to be removed to ensure the lot had no non-compliance issues. I worked with staff and the owners to help clear up this issue prior to this evening's meeting. Based on staff recommending approval, as well as the information I've provided, I hope you recommend approval of this project, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Grog? Any erosion issues present that you?
It's flat, those lots of landfall back there are pretty much flat out to the water, so it's all, as you saw from the pictures, it's a grass area at the moment, so a pretty simple, not exactly, we're not taking down a bunch of trees and shrubs to make this swap. And honestly, I think the conservation easement's kind of going into a better area that actually has more vegetation.
Thank you.
So is this unusual to change the location of a conservation easement? I don't remember that coming before this.
So you saw one, the neighbors actually came, I believe it was either your July or August meeting that neighbors took. Oh, okay. So there was one just there. And you've had a couple others that have come. It's because basically how these lots were platted, the conservation easements were placed very close to the house. And since then, there's been opportunities to be able to place that, to move it to other locations to free up some. But that area is still within the RPA, which is why we're here as well. We do a lot of conservation easement swaps with staff on areas that are not not in the RPA. This one is just, we could free up the conservation easement, but it's in the RPA. So removing the conservation easement allows the improvement to be constructed, but you need to approve the improvement in the RPA. Yep.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
I don't see any, but I'll ask, anybody else care to address the board? Seeing none, I'll pull the matter back to the board for consideration. Any questions, comments?
Pretty straightforward.
Close the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
Accepted. Exception request for Chesapeake Bay case number CBPA 250091 and 4428 Landfall Drive.
Mr. Wilson.
Motion is to accept. Mr. Waltrip?
Yes.
Mr. Woolsey?
Yes.
Mr. May?
Yes.
Ms. Bowie?
Yes.
Mr. Roadley?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Under board, that is all the items on our agenda for public hearing. Under board considerations, CBPA 24-0116, or extension request.
Evening, Chairman, members of the board, Amanda Fraser, Watershed Planner. Mr. Richard Blar is requesting a one-year extension to CBPA 24-0116, originally granted on November 14th, 2024. Staff agrees with this request with the stipulation that all permit conditions except for the expiration date be reauthorized and that the new date of expiration be November 14th, 2026.
Any questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Go ahead. Any matters of special privilege?
Just that there will be board elections at the November meeting. And the meeting is not on Wednesday. It's not the second Wednesday, but it'll be the Thursday that week due to the Board of Supervisors meeting and the Veterans Day holiday.
Good. Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.